Good morning, guys. Hope you are doing well. One of the questions that I've gotten as I've started my podcast journey is, can you talk about what grateful living means and sort of what's the purpose of the podcast? So I'd like to address those two questions today. First thing is, grateful living to me is just a phrase I use in good times and bad times, in good situations and bad situations, to remind myself what a blessing life is. You know, to remember that to be living, to be breathing, you know, to be healthy is the greatest blessing of all, no matter if you're in an up or if you're in a down. And so I started this podcast journey as originally as a mental health podcast. And so you'll see, originally I didn't, video my episodes. It was just me recording thoughts on self-care, career goals and things like that. As that evolved, I realized that, what the thing is, I only have my own story, right? So, for example, I'm straight. And so I can't talk about what it's like being gay. Or, I can't bring the perspective of, an African American in the U.S. because I'm not African American. So that's when I started the idea of interviewing people and just trying to learn from their journeys. And so that's what I've started, and I think it's a long form piece of content. More to not only just answer the professional, aspects of how people did what they did, but just remind people that, there's a person behind everything, and to just view that personal side. I think often we look at, successful people and we think they're like, these unreal human beings, or they're these gods. And really, they're just human beings, just like you and me and everyone else. There's a great line that I've learned, every master was once a beginner. And it's just so important to think about that. Like, Michael Jordan was once, learning how to play basketball, just, learning from different perspectives and learning from different experiences. And that's been the goal, and to share those and to spread positivity, and inspiration. I think, when you look at media today, there's a lot of divisiveness to it, and there's not always, a lot of positivity to it. If you watch the local news, and you internalize that, you might think that, like, every town there was like someone was shot or murdered, and obviously, you have to report what's happening in the world. So I understand that. But I think that, we have to remember the media needs to captivate us, right? And they need to sell us on news, and they need to get our eyeballs to watch their programs as well. They have a job to do inherently. So in some ways they have to be, provide emotional stories, provide polarizing stories. And so I kind of want to, look at the positive side of things. And even when I say that, when I do these interviews, I talk to people about some of the tough times, some of the times they doubted themselves and things like that. So even in that, there is the sad times, the tough times. And, my purpose became ever so clear. A lot of people have been asking me, why are you doing this? Like, what is the ultimate point? And, I don't know the answer to those questions, but one of the big factors in doing this has been the loss of several people close to me to mental health battles, to suicide. And, I want to do whatever is in my power to help people get to a better mental health state. And, I've dealt with my own issues, and, I've lost 2 people in the last 2 years to mental health related deaths. And that's tough, right? Because they should have, lived another 60 years, and unfortunately that's not going to happen. And I think part of that has to deal with the stigma related to it. And so I want to help normalize that mental health troubles are not something you need to hide, are not something that you need to be embarrassed about, and that you should deal with it, whether it's in a professional sense, whether it's talking to your friends, or whatever it is that you can do to help your situation. You should get it done. And so, yeah, that was a long-ranging talk, but a lot of people have kind of been asking me, like, tell me what's the purpose behind everything I'm doing. So I hope I answer those questions.